Okay, so today we're going to begin our class in the Baal Shem beginner Kollel with a very, very important idea from the Baal Shem and really from the Rebbe. It really begins with the Baal Shem but you see this very much in the philosophy of the Rebbe. And in fact, it's an interesting thing because the only philosophy in the world that has a philosophy of infinity built into the finite is very much the philosophy of the Baal Shem Tov, and as very much clarified by the Rebbe. So there's a saying by the Rebbe Marash. It says like this: "As gut is besser nicht besser." If something is good, is better, not better. Why? Because basically the human mind can only assume a certain reality, and what it does is, let's say if somebody wants to be, a doctor, he thinks about, the best doctor, and he imitates him, or the best he can be. Well, let's say somebody wants to be, a rabbi. Again, he'll have the same kind of idea, but the idea that you can always improve is something very difficult for the human mind to understand, because ultimately, even let's say in the olden days, what was the height that a person could imagine? Maybe they're going to be a king. Okay, but even that's limited. You're a king and maybe you'll have the world, but even that's limited because it's just the same thing eventually. There was a king, he was a king of Spain. He wrote that every day he would write in his diary if he was happy. He says, "I was beloved by my subjects, feared by my enemies, and I only had 14 days of happiness." So here's a guy who was a king, and he ran his whole country, and he was powerful, and yet it was very much, he was not a happy man. Because ultimately, as we've said, I discussed this when I was teaching my kids yesterday, there are basically two things that we possess. We possess the body and the soul. Now, the body is very, very simple. It gets happy from very little things. And the worst thing that you can do is want more of it. You can't, if you want too much food, it won't be healthy for you. Too much money, it won't be healthy. Everything of the body, you just need to limit it. Let's say they say somebody wants to worry, let him own a house on every port, that he's thinking what's happening with this house, what's happening with that house, etc., etc. Now, these are not necessarily bad worries as long as you have a spiritual reason behind it. But if you don't have a spiritual reason behind it, if the only reason you're doing it is because you want to be rich and famous, then it's not actually going to serve you very well. However, the soul is really infinite. And this is very important to understand, because we speak about God that He's Lamayla Mayla Adin Ketz, He's infinitely high, Lamata Mata Adin Tachlis, and He goes infinitely low. So if you want to speak about God, I think the easier way to understand the world is to understand that which is deeper and that which is superficial. So something like the body, which is superficial, you can't really make more of it. You obviously need a healthy body, a healthy house, you obviously need to feel comfortable, but that's it. You can't do more than that. Now, when it comes to the soul is not superficial. The soul is deeper, and you can always go deeper. And so therefore, the goal of life is always to increase in that which matters. And if we have this mentality, there's a very famous story, a very great rabbi, he recently passed away, and he had tremendous accomplishments. He translated the entire Talmud, tremendous accomplishments, Rabbi Evan Yisrael. And Rabbi Evan Yisrael, he actually once wrote to the Rebbe that he's busy doing 4 projects, and somebody suggested a project, so which of the projects should he drop? Now, a project like translating the Talmud is a 40-year project. It's not a simple project. And so such a thing demands a lot of time and effort and attention, and he succeeded. So, at the end of the day, the story is that he asked the Rebbe what to do. So the Rebbe said to him, you should not drop any of the projects. You should take on the new projects, and you should look for another project. Because in the Rebbe's idea, the Rebbe once told somebody, the Rebbe didn't just joke around, when the Rebbe said something was real, that every single year he would take on as many projects as he was. So if he was 90, he took on 90 projects. He didn't slow down, he increased every year. When the Rebbe took on a project, it was a serious project, 90 projects when he was 90 years old. So that means that a human being sees himself in a body as a body, and the body is a limited thing. However, the truth of the matter is we are unlimited. We can always do more. And a Yid always has to have this approach that it's not me that's doing, it's Hashem that's doing, because ultimately you can't do anything, only Hashem can do. Chief Rabbi of Russia, his name is Rabbi Baal Lazar. When he came to Russia, he's very, very successful. He's actually a friend with the president of Russia. And suddenly he saw himself as a success, and suddenly his success went down. Then he realized, no, it's not my success, it's the Rebbe's success. Because it was the Rebbe's success, he was able to continuously grow and expand and do more and more good. So it's very important for us to realize that Hashem is infinite, and we are His representatives. So we become infinite. You know, if you represent a country, you have the power of the country, and if the country is infinite, then you have an infinite power. And once you understand this, it changes the way you look at yourself and the way you look at the world. Why? Because the way you look at yourself is as somebody finite. Because you're finite, so therefore there's only so much you can do and so much you can accomplish. But if you understand that you're actually somebody that's infinite, it changes the whole story. So first of all, you don't need more. An infinite being doesn't need more chicken. You're okay with them, just the basics, because you're just happy to live, whatever. But what does an infinite being need more of? More of infinity, more of what's right and what's valuable. And so therefore a person always increases. When somebody, the mayor of Arad once came to Rebbe, he said, Rebbe, you blessed us last year, and we doubled the size of our city, thank you very much. The Rebbe said, so next year you should be 4 times as much. The Rebbe never was satisfied with, the act of being satisfied is the act of a finite act. I'm satisfied. But being satisfied means you don't conceive of infinity. You don't understand how it can be even better. So no matter what the circumstance is, we can always make it better. It can always increase. L'chaim v'levracha.